McLaren have won the Baku GP and in brilliant fashion due to Piastri's amazing overtake and defensive skill. The Australian put on a show for plenty of laps and showed us why he is as competitive as Lando, and in 2025, if this car is still the best, it'll be very hard for the team to debate who's the number one driver, and we're probably going to get drama like we're getting right now between the two drivers. It's definitely a Rosberg and Hamilton type situation. The team has been on fire, and while this hasn't always provided in victories for the team, the car itself has usually been the fastest on track, and that was shown yet again during the race in Azerbaijan. It has put him now in P1 in the Constructors, and there is a possible chance with Lando to get the Drivers' Championship and some outside chance if Oscar can keep doing what he's doing. Lando's drive from P16 to P4 still got him some points onto Max, which keeps our hopes alive with this championship. But with the team being as good as it has been, it's now the main center for being criticized of having either illegal parts or something not being deemed fair by the FIA for the team, specifically through the front wing. And now a mini DRS trick spotted in Baku. So let's go over all this and talk about what's going on with McLaren, and is this new mini DRS illegal or just a brilliant solution down the straight? Before getting into the video, I wanted to thank you guys for the support on the channel. You guys are amazing, and if you're new here, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It does a lot for me, helps me out, and pushes the channel, so it would mean a lot from you guys. But let's get into the McLaren video. So as I stated, Baku has shown us that McLaren has this new innovative trick, and it's been very easy to see here with the rear wing they specifically chose for here that it's different to its opponents. Firstly, looking at it, there's a comparison pic here of the McLaren, the Red Bull, and the Ferrari all going down that huge straight in Baku, and as you can clearly tell here, the Red Bull is pretty much closed, and this is the DRS being closed on all these cars. There is no DRS effectiveness at all. It is without the activation of DRS. That is why this trick is becoming so controversial. As you can see, the McLaren has that tiny flap open, which isn't something that they've pressed a button for. It's happening while they go down the straight. It's pretty much flexing within the wind and giving them a mini DRS effect. Ferrari has nothing, Red Bull has nothing. Showing you now frame by frame using multi-viewer, you can see that McLaren, Red Bull, and Ferrari, it shows off how much of this flap is actually open and where the air is now going through to give it that mini DRS effect. Most of the controversy is coming with the DRS closed. Obviously, that's where we see that mini DRS effect. Leclerc is hitting 321 on the Ferrari, while Piastri is hitting 324. So he has about a 3 kph advantage when both drivers do not have DRS activated. While DRS is activated, Leclerc is hitting 339 and Piastri is hitting 335. So Leclerc is the faster driver with the DRS, but without it, Piastri is quicker. Another comparison pic showing you in low speed what it's doing, and then high speed. This is also combined with that effect they have on the front wing that a lot of teams are also calling controversial as well. And lastly, to show you how this is happening, this is that last sector 3 with Piastri ahead, Leclerc fighting from behind, and you can see when the rear wing tends to do this and why it's giving them a little bit of that kph advantage when the DRS is closed. But the biggest talking point around this is whether it's deemed legal or not. Now, most of the fans surrounding obviously Ferrari and Red Bull are obviously going to point this out and see if the FIA can intervene and call this illegal because it is a flexing of parts. And with what happened with the McLaren's front wing being deemed okay because pretty much the FIA said there's nothing they can do about it till 2025, people are trying to find a way to slow down this McLaren and trying to understand why it's so quick everywhere. But looking through the rules, the design is such that failure of the system will result in the uppermost closed section returning to the normal high incidence position. Any alteration of this incidence of the uppermost closed section may only be commanded by the direct driver input and controlled using the control electronics specified in Articles 8.3, which is the DRS system, the actual activator for it, and opening and closing that activator. There is a section talking about rear wing flap flexibility. And it says the rear wing flap may deflect no more than 7 millimeters horizontally when a 500N load is applied horizontally. The load will be applied in the plane, and this goes on to talk to you about the measurements of how high it can open and so on, and it talks about how it's being measured, this flexibility, and it has passed all the tests so far from the FIA, which almost makes this a brilliant solution and not an illegal one. It says in the technical regs that any change of the DRS flap angle have to be commanded by the direct driver input and controlled using control electronics, as I've stated before. But the MCL's actual flap of its wing that is changing is relative to the rest of the rear wing, which would deem it legal. And while it is controversial, at the moment, teams can try and fight this and see if it can be reversed for what happened in the GP, maybe disqualify McLaren. You'll definitely see Ferrari, Red Bull, possibly even Mercedes looking into this to see if they can pick off points from what is right now the top team. We're going to hear way more about this, but the biggest changes for the rear wing and the front wing, and where we'll probably get a very solid, very thorough FIA rule set, is in 2025, especially in the front wing flexing, because it's been so controversial on both the Mercedes car, because it's obviously given them a big boost of performance, even being stated by James Allison in Canada. And then McLaren has also been using it. We now have reports from Red Bull and Ferrari bringing actually these front wing upgrades, because if the FIA will allow it, they will also use it on their car. It's being reported by Ferrari that we could possibly see this either in Coda or in the Qatar GP. And with Red Bull, they are saying that this type of upgrade should be coming soon. There's been a lot of talk from Horner and both Helmut Marko that the car's front wings on both the Mercedes and the McLaren should be deemed illegal, but if it's not, we're going to do it as well. It'll be interesting to see with both Ferrari and Red Bull, when these front wings are brought to the car, how much of an impact it will make, because it definitely changed drastically the season for Mercedes, and clearly McLaren has been using this as an efficient way to get even more downforce in the low and even high-speed corners. It'll also take away from the excuses from both Red Bull and Ferrari to both have that front wing, and it'll equal out what seems like an uneven playing field right now, because Ferrari and Red Bull really don't have any flexing in their front wing. McLaren has also been delaying an upgrade on the floor because of how good the solution they currently have right now is, and they've seen what it's done to other teams when they bring upgrades and it doesn't work. Kind of like what just happened in Baku. We thought Max Verstappen was back, but in the race, he was pretty much nowhere, and Lando actually ended up catching him from P16. So this McLaren car is leagues above, and right now, I would probably say it's Lando's championship to lose. Max is going to continue to lose points, and I think podiums are going to be very hard to find, especially with Singapore coming right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. I know it's going to be controversial, but look into it. Tell me if I got something wrong. It'll be interesting to discuss and see what happens within the coming days going into Singapore. And this effect won't be as prominent in Singapore. It was probably a big factor as to why they were quick in Monza. It is very small, but those small parts add up, and it does give you the advantage, as you've seen with Piastri and with Leclerc, about a 3 kph difference as of right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Please leave a like and subscribe. It'd mean the world, and peace.